Bam! Welcome to the Real Talk Sports Show. I'm your host, the Minister Jonathan Simmons, and we thank God for those of you who are watching us here on the various platforms. We know we're on Facebook Live, we're on YouTube Live, we are on Twitch TV, we are on the Roku channel we're on Tiki Live on Roku, and then go there and you'll go on the Phoenix Entertainment Group, and you will see us on all those platforms. And a big shout out to those of you who are listening live on WIGO AM 1570. Atlanta's, well, oh, that was the old 1570. We are now legendary WIGO pace setter 1570 AM under the new leadership and ownership of Miss Sheila Brown, or I should say Mrs. Sheila Brown. And we thank God for her, and we thank God for each and every one of you. Remember, if you are listening to us and you have to go somewhere, good news, you can hear us anywhere on either the net or you can hear us on the app. Here's how you do it. So WIGOAM.com. You can listen to us anywhere, or if you don't have this app, it's called TuneIn. It's a free app. Download it. Go into the search engine, put in WIGO 1570, and voila, you will find us broadcasting to you right here and right now. And please, we're going to ask you, everybody, to follow us on social media. You can see up here, you can follow the show, Real Talk Sports is number 7. You can follow me personally at Minister J. Sims. So that's Minister MINISTERJSIMM. So follow me and follow the show. And remember, we have a YouTube channel, Real Talk Sports TV. So go there and subscribe, and bing, hit the bell so you'll get notifications that you'll know what's happening when we are coming on the air. Well, guys, anytime we do this show, we always bring on one of the most beautiful women on sports talk radio and TV, usually. But we can't today. Why? Because Miss Tree Dolman, a.k.a. the Queen, is in the process of getting set to now transfer her crown for the first time in a couple of years. She had been reigning Queen Miss International 2021 and 2022, and she is now going to hand that crown over to the new winner for 2023. So she cannot be with us tonight. But nevertheless, we also have a champion. He is not one, but 2-time Super Bowl champion, played over a decade in NFL. He is a member of the Fort Valley State Sports Hall of Fame. You also can watch him on ESPN doing HBCU broadcasts. He's a darn nice guy. Mr. Tyrone Poole is in the building, sir.
How you doing, Jonathan? Hello, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well. Hope everybody had a wonderful, wonderful day and enjoying your night wherever you are.
Well, sir, I see you went old school. You have the high school, LaGrange football, rocking that tonight. Yes, sir.
It's old to you, but it's never old to me. So
Tell the story, sir.
That's always my hometown. So, but one thing about LaGrange, people go look up the stats. The most winningest football teams, high school football in the state of Georgia. Valdosta is number 1. Guess who's number 2?
LaGrange High School football. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Winningest high school in the state of Georgia when it comes to football. You don't believe me? Go look it up. Go Google it.
Check the stats, baby. Check the stats. Well, yeah, man, it's good stuff, man. And, you are certainly LaGrange football well known, and you are part of that great history and that great legacy. So it's got to make you feel good, man, to be a part of that chain of excellence coming out of the southern part of Metro Atlanta, actually just past Metro Atlanta. You guys are closer to Columbus, is that right?
Yeah, kind of closer to Columbus. So.
That's what I thought. So Metro Columbus doing up big with LaGrange High School. Yeah, man, it's always good to be a part of a legacy. And you've done that everywhere you went, brother. I mean, you've done it in high school, you've done it in college, and certainly done it in the pros. And you got them 2 nice little trophies behind you to prove that. So, yeah, man, the Lord has blessed, no doubt.
God, all praise be to the Most High God. So,
amen.
You can't do it by yourself. It takes a team. It takes a team. A lot of great players from high school to college to the pros. I was just one part of a 53-man pig in the NFL, and they have over 60-something, 70-something kids in high school sometimes. I know at least our sideline in high school, we were deep. We were like a college team. So to speak, had so many players. And then Fort Valley, a lot of great athletes come through Fort Valley. So a lot of great places I played at, a lot of great people.
No doubt, man, no doubt. Now I'm gonna have to ask you to check something here. I'm getting a little bit of a hum. Are you near something? Maybe adjust your mic for a second.
Not the normal.
All right.
Yeah, mute me. I'll check it out.
Okay. We're gonna be back with more Tyrone in just a second, guys. We can get them straightened out there and get everything done. Well, listen, while we're doing that, we're gonna take a little station break. You're listening to the Real Talk Sports Show or watching the Real Talk Sports Show anywhere you can. You know how we do it, baby. Keeping it real and talking sports. We'll be back with more in just a moment.
The day has arrived. It's time to let more people know about your business. You have the right marketing plan and the messaging in place. But do you have the right messenger? Good advertising and promotions need a professional sound so the message can be clearly understood. Don't leave your brand image to chance. Let our team of voiceover experts at CME lend you a hand. Give us a call at 678 304 8121 to find out how we can partner with you to give your business its voice.
As we go back here and check out Tyrone, hopefully we have got him situated. Tyrone, go ahead and unmute yourself, sir, and see what we got.
How we sound?
Oh yeah, 100% better, sir. Yes, sir. 100% better. That worked. That worked.
Sound good?
Wait, man. We had an interesting weekend in sports here in Metro Atlanta. We had kind of a mixed bag. The Hawks started out actually before the weekend pretty well, winning their first two games at home. I don't know if you got a chance to watch the Hawks. What did you think about the Hawks as far as how they've come out and at least started out winning two of three at home?
Well, again, it's a long season. It's a long season, and but anytime you play, you always play to win. Uh, at least they're on the right side of the winning record. They won more than they've lost. I think Trey Young, starting off in the first several games, he's ranking very high when it comes to assists. So, it'll be interesting to see how the rest of the team pans out, how the season pans out as they continue to move forward during the season. The most important thing is to stay injury free. Injury free. So if a player does get an injury, a nick, a bruise, they make sure they get in the training room, get themselves iced down, and get back on the court or get rubbed down, whatever they have to do to get their body back on that court because their body is their business. But so far, the Hawks are looking pretty good. Let's see how long they can continue to have more wins than they do losses.
Yeah, so look very good in game one. Actually, we got a glimpse of what we hope to see all season. They have four players in, scored 20 points or more. DeAndre Hunter, I believe, had 21. John Collins actually led the way with 24. Trace had 23. And our new guy, DeJounte Murray, had 22. And both of those guys did a double-double, both Murray and Trey going for over 20 points and double digits in assists. So, I mean, that first game against, admittedly, a bad Houston team, you said, man, this is kind of the formula to win. Now, in their final game, they ran up against a team that was much larger, a team that had a lot more energy, and the Hawks went down. And it's funny, in the post game, it kind of was that same old story that the players, and like you mentioned, it's early in the season, but the players didn't seem to have that good energy that you need to win in professional sports. Because as you mentioned many times, Tyrone, everybody's good. And like you got some, I don't care if the team is bad, they're all professionals. Matter of fact, let's see if I can get a little listen here at Coach Nate talking about after the loss to Charlotte, what he thought about the energy of the team. Let's see if we can go to that. Coach Nate from the Atlanta Hawks.
We didn't play defense, so there was no energy, there was no urgency from us on the defensive end of the floor. I didn't think there was much urgency from us on the offensive end of the floor. We wasn't running our sets with pace. Pretty much we was kind of going three-quarter speed, walking through our sets on the offensive end of the floor. And when we did get open looks, we didn't make those shots. So it's just got to be more urgency on both ends of the floor.
Yes, that's it, man. I mean, they played like it was an 81 game season. It looked like they were kind of slow motion. The thing I couldn't understand though is that the Hawks really have a pretty good cadre of really good young players. And I'm still not sure why the coach would not want to play these guys more. They picked up a stud from out of Duke, AJ Griffin. He looks like he's going to be a stellar performer. They also, of course, have Jalen Johnson from last year. So they have some guys, some young guys, I think that can really help this team. Just hoping that coach will get these guys out in the mix early some of these games that in the pre and later on in the season, as you mentioned, because injuries do happen, these guys are literally ready to be next man up.
Well, again, you heard Coach Nate mention no defense, no defense. You know, a 23-point loss to the Hornets, and then they're getting ready to go on a 5-game uh, road trip, uh, starting with the Pistons, I believe. But Tree would have loved that. The Detroit Pistons, her Detroit, Michigan area. But again, you heard him mention no defense and no sense of urgency. So I don't care who you put on the court, whether it's veterans or young people. You got to play defense. And you got to have a sense of urgency. So hopefully this doesn't begin to show itself as a pattern that we will be hearing Coach Nate speak of. So many people want to score on offense, but nobody want to play defense. Again, you talk about Young and Murray. Together those guys, over this span of the young season, they put up 45 some odd points or what have you, and 20 something assists per game or what have you. But again, no sense of urgency, no defense. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, and again, we hear this same story from Hawks players, especially the leader of your team. Guys talking about, hey, we might have overlooked them. Matter of fact, DeJounte Murray said that. He said, hey, you know what? We might have overlooked these guys, thinking they're not that good. This team, the way it's constructed right now, presently, is not a good enough team. Like some of your great Laker teams and some of your teams from back in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, these dominant teams that could hit that switch and then turn it on. Or to some degree, what the Hawks did the first year when they made that run to Eastern Conference Finals, they had that type of energy, that type of drive, and the type of players, clutch players, that could do that kind of thing, go down by double digits and then come back and do very, very well. But right now, this team, the way it's configured, they cannot play that way. They have to play high energy all the time, or in fact, it's going to be a long season for the Atlanta Hawks. When I say a long season, a disappointing season, because really right now they have the tools in place to make a run to the Eastern Conference Final or beyond. You got two All Stars, two
Yeah.
guys.
Well, you can have everything in place. You can have all the ingredients in the kitchen, but if you don't have the right cook, it don't matter what you cook it ain't gonna taste good. But at the same time, great teams. This is what great teams, championship teams do. Okay, championship teams. They win the games they should have lost, and they win the ones they're supposed to win. Okay, so you can't go in and say we underestimated these guys. They no champions don't think like that, man. They beat the teams they're supposed to beat, and the games that they were supposed to lose, they find some kind of way to win it. So those are the marks of any team on any level, even in corporate America. Those are principles. So hopefully, again, this won't be a song that the Hawks will be singing, midway during the season, and then at the end of the season. So hopefully, Coach Nate and Trey Young, Murray, John Collins, the young studs, as you call them, they can all get it together, man, and get on some type of winning streak and win the games they're supposed to win.
Yep, and here they are right now. There's John Collins talking a little bit after game one, and then here was Trey knocking down a couple of free throws against Houston. Like I said again, man, they look great against Houston. If they can continue to find a way to, put things together like that, this team could be a team to reckon with. But they're going to have to play hard every single night. They can't be messing around and coasting and saying, well, hey, we'll we'll catch up later. Can't do it. But speaking of catch up, we got to catch up with our sponsors. We will be back. I can speak English. We'll be back on more of the Real Talk Sports Show in just a moment. Don't go nowhere.
Are
Thank you.
you in the market for a new vehicle? Well, check out Allen Vigil Ford Lincoln in Morrow, Georgia. We have one of the largest inventories in our area for both new and pre-owned vehicles, so we're sure to have something for everyone. Family owned and operated since 1982, customer satisfaction is our number one priority. Come see our full lineup of vehicles and find the one that best fits you. Give us a call today, 678-726-5739, or shop us 24/7 online at allenvigilford.net.
Yeah, big shout out to the folks over at Allen Vigil Ford. To be transparent, I'm actually an employee of Mr. Vigil as well. I'm the commercial account manager over there. So if you need a vehicle for yourself or your familia, please give me a call, 678 364-3979. Love to help you. We actually now have some vehicles in now. For those of you who are not familiar, we've had a tremendous problem. All car dealerships with a shortage of chips. But looks like that's starting to free up a little bit. So if you need a car for yourself or for your business or family member, hit me up. You can call me directly on the cell if you like, 678-410-9833. Or you can hit me up. Let me post it up here right here on social media so you guys can see it. You also can send me an email at jsimmons@realtalksports.net. I'd be more than happy to assist you in any way. There's the phone number right there, 678-410-9833, or hit me up on an email, jsimmons@realtalksports.net. Tyrone, we did our usual high school football last week, and unfortunately, another Clayton County team took a nasty beating at Terra Stadium. The Lovett Lions rolled in and pitched a shutout against Mount Zion High School. I believe the final score was 34-0. So not a good scene for our local teams, man. I don't know what we're going to be able to do here to tighten Clayton County up, man. I mean, and don't get me wrong, they have some good teams. Lovejoy is a good team, obviously a perennial good team. Jonesboro's not bad. Morrow, a good team. Matter of fact, they beat Jonesboro last week. So, we have a few contenders, but we need some more. Oh, I forgot about the Raiders of Riverdale. Give them a big shout out as well. But Clayton County needs some help, bro.
I tell you what they need. They need to come on over to Level 38 Training Academy. That's what they need.
Come on, say it again. Let me get you on the full screen. Go ahead, talk to them. Talk to them, sir.
They need to come and see these things behind me. Hey, that's IQ. That's all this is IQ. IQ. So Clayton County, you need to come see Level 38 Training Academy. Offense, defense. Like I tell people, the game doesn't change, just the people. Okay, so come on to Level 38 Training Academy and let's get some champions out of Clayton County.
That's right, guys. You're going to see some stuff on our website to direct you to that, and we're going to be doing some more to let you know how you can find out how you can get your student athlete out there. Because again, we want to do what we can to improve them both on and off the field.
Yes.
Tyrone is a godly man, so he's going to give them some wisdom. Just like some of the other great men that are involved in the world of sports. So you're going to get a well-rounded young man, both to excel on the field and off the field as well.
And don't forget, Jonathan, tell them now, I ran track as well. So I know about technique, about running, dorsiflexion of the foot. Plantar flexion is when you run with your toe down. Dorsiflexion, you want that toe up so you can bounce off the ground. So I'm telling you, Level 38 Training Academy. We don't call it an academy for nothing. You're going to learn when you come. So, yes. Thank you, Jonathan. Let's do it.
Amen. Tyrone, for a second, I got lost. We were talking about the planar, the flexor. I was like, man, he over my head now. He went, woo!
Hey, that's what I'm talking about. That's that IQ. That's about knowing how to
what on earth? But at the end of the day, what he's telling you guys in plain English is that these are things that you need to know about so that you can excel. Because just if you look at the great athletes, you look at clips and tapes of guys, they talk about how they had to push off in a certain way, a certain angle, how that gave them maybe another, sometimes just a millisecond. But in the world of sports, that much of a difference can mean the difference between you being a champion or chump. So I'm just saying.
I heard Alex Rodriguez say this. He says the difference between average and great athletes. You guys ready for this? Okay, I'm not even charging for this one here. The difference between average and great athletes, or it could be average company or a Fortune 500 company. The difference is the Fortune 500 company, the great athletes, they do the small things well.
There you go, guys. That's good stuff for life as well. Well, speaking of well-rounded and guys taking care of little things, this guy's been involved in the world of sports and also now over the last couple of years involved in the world of pop culture. And there's always something going on in the world of pop culture, so we're going to bring him on. Brian Jones is back in the building. Brian, welcome back, sir.
It's great to be back. Thank you guys for having me on again.
No doubt, man. Good to see you, brother.
Hey, good to see you guys. Absolutely.
All right.
Well, Brian, to be honest with you, I thought that we'd be getting ready to talk a little Braves versus Dodgers. And, well, not so much. Looks like we are going to have another new World Series champion. What were your thoughts about, really, I think a shock to everybody, Phillies, not so much the Astros, but certainly Phillies and Astros are going to be tilting for the World Series.
Well, I think the Phillies, what they've been doing in this playoff run year, they finished the regular season with 87 and 75 record, got that final wild card spot in the playoffs because they expanded the playoffs this year. So they got that number 6 seed. They were able to take care of the St. Louis Cardinals. Both of those games were at St. Louis. And then when they took on the Braves, they were able to do what the Braves did last year, come up with timely hitting. The pitching came up big when it needed to. So it was seemed like a shock, but they came into the playoffs as a hot team, and when they faced the Padres, they pretty much did the same thing. What you saw from Bryce Harper in Game 5 of that series is what you saw again, what you saw with the Braves last year when it comes to guys like Dansby Swanson, Jorge Soler, Travis d'Arnaud. They came up with timely hits, and Bryce Harper hitting that home run to put them ahead in that game, and that led to him winning the NLCS MVP. Phillies fans are going to remember that for a lifetime. So they're coming into this series against an Astros team who has not lost a playoff game yet. They are as good as advertised. They had the second best record in all of Major League Baseball. They're playing in their fourth World Series in 6 years. They're a juggernaut. They have talent on offense, defense, pitching, starting pitching, relief pitching. They have it all. And me personally, I would like to see the Astros win simply because of Dusty Baker. He's been a great manager for so many years, led multiple teams to playoffs and World Series. It would be great to see him finally get that World Series ring, and I think he does it. Again, the Phillies have a lot of momentum. They feel like they can beat anyone, but so do the Astros. So it's going to be a great World Series.
Tell me what you think and your thoughts about these two teams. First of all, who do you think you like, Phillies or the Astros, to take this thing and be the new champions?
Well, man, I'm gonna tell you this. These teams face each other 3 times in 2022 this season. Houston taking 2 of the 3. But what I like about the Philadelphia Phillies, they have been to the plate to bat second most in this postseason. Only the Padres went to bat more than the Phillies. So that means the more at bats you get, that means the more opportunity you get, an opportunity to drive in runs. They basically hit home runs. They're number one right now in the postseason. From the postseason play, they're number one as far as knocking that ball over the fence. So what I like about the Phillies, they are going to make sure that they have a lot of bats, a lot of different people swinging at your pitcher. So with that being said, they're going to have a lot of opportunity to manufacture runs. Now, Houston, again, I think Houston, just the city of Houston themselves, I think they are playing for pride. They want to show people that, hey, all that stuff that you guys talked about us several years ago, here we are back in this thing again, okay? So I think both of them have a little bit of a chip on the shoulder, a little bit of mojo, as Austin Powers would call it, a little bit of mojo. The Phillies with the ability to manufacture runs. And me personally, I think the Houston Astros just want to show everybody that, hey, we are here because we belong here.
Yeah, no doubt. That was obviously a big scandal. When people talked about them, counting pitches and getting kind of tips on the pitches. So you're right. They want to prove that, hey, man, we are basically one of the dominant teams of this decade. Because you're talking, like Brian mentioned, going to the World Series. This is their fourth time, I think, in 5 or 6 years. If they win a second World Series title, man, it's going to be they're going to be considered, like I said, the dominant team of this decade. So yeah, we will see. I like the Astros' chances because they got the hoss over there, Justin Verlander. That guy is just he is lights out, and it seems like when he gets the ball in clutch time, he's a guy that can do something you don't see in modern day baseball a lot. He can actually take you and get a complete game in postseason if necessary. So yeah, man. I look like for the Astros to win, of course. Like Brian, I really would like to see Dusty Baker finally win a world title. This is the guy who's knocked on the door on several times, different teams. He's been edged out on a couple of occasions in some of the great pennant races of all time. Back, I think it was in the early '90s, the Dodgers and the Giants came right down to the wire. Both teams won over 100 games, and Dusty kind of lost out on that. So, yeah, man, we'd like to see him finally win it because he's a nice guy. He's just really a real nice guy. So we'd like to see him, do what he can do and get this title, and it will cement really his legacy, what a lot of people already know, as being one of the best managers in Major League history. If you go back and look at his record, he's one of the all-time greats, and that World Series win would be a capstone on an already stellar career. So hopefully they can do it. But I think everybody's in agreement, or at least 2-1, that the Astros are going to take this thing over the Phillies.
But I tell you what, the Astros better manufacture some runs, because again, Philadelphia Phillies, they make sure that they manufacture runs. There are 57 runs throughout the postseason. That's how many runs they've actually people they've had to come across their home plate 57 times. Astros 31 times. So the Astros better pick up their number when it comes to runs.
Well, you know what they say in baseball, baby. It's like the defense in football. Good pitching usually a lot of times can shut down good hitting. So, like I said, the Astros are stacked in that regard. And like I said, they got a stud. They got a guy that they can run out there in a 7-game series 3 times. So yeah, it's gonna be a good one. I mean, everybody I think was expecting the Braves. A lot of people I think wanted the Yankees to make an appearance. I think Major League Baseball wanted to see East Coast, West Coast, Tyrone, like we talked about last time. They really wanted to see kind of a Yankees Dodgers thing, but it ain't happening, boys. The Yankees be at home and swept on top of that. So that was kind of a shocker for me as well. I did not think that they were going to be swept, but there they are. So that's it, guys.
Well,
so,
yeah,
ahead,
I think. Well, I was going to say about the Yankees, this is the 5th consecutive time that when the Yankees have made the ALCS, they have lost. So there was talk about them firing their manager, which is not going to happen. But the Yankees, they started off so strong. They had the best record in the MLB. You had Aaron Judge going on that home run tour, breaking the American League single season home run record. They fell off towards the end, but they were able to win 99 games. But I kind of figured that they would lose to the Astros, because the Astros have been one of the more consistent teams all year. So that's not too much of a surprise. But the Yankees will be back. I think they'll be up there. They're in a competitive AL East. I think the Red Sox, they fell off this year. They'll be back. You have the Blue Jays. The Orioles they were a kind of a surprise team this year. But the Yankees will be there. I think they'll be there for the next few years. But I just think this Astros team is just so loaded in so many areas. Now, granted, the Phillies, as I mentioned, they're going to come in this game or come into the series very confident. They have 2 great pitchers in Aaron Nola and Zach Wheeler. Zach Wheeler is from Halton County, so he's a guy that is probably going to get some Cy Young votes. But again, it's going to be a great World Series. I just think the Astros, because of home field advantage and the fact that they haven't lost a game yet in the playoffs, I think that's going to really pay dividends for them in this World Series.
Yeah, I think I agree. We all agree. Houston, will not walk away, but they should win it. And again, like I said, they faced each other 3 times, and in those scores, it was 3-2 Houston, and then it was 3-0 Philadelphia won at their spot, and Houston won both games at their spot. But the one game that stands out was that 10-0 selection that Houston gave Philadelphia. And again, both teams earned it, but only one team is going to walk away. So it should be a good game.
Yeah, it should be a good series. Look forward to some nail biters. Both teams are clutch. Both teams, especially in case the Astros, they've been there, done that. So that should be good stuff. Speaking of been there, done that, we got to take a break, guys. You've been there, done that. So don't go nowhere. We'll be back with more of the Real Talk Sports Show in just a moment. Stay tuned.
Are you in the market for a new vehicle? Well, check out Allen Vigil Ford Lincoln in Morrow, Georgia. We have one of the largest inventories in our area for both new and pre-owned vehicles, so we're sure to have something for everyone. Family owned and operated since 1982, customer satisfaction is our #1 priority. Come see our full lineup of vehicles and find the one that best fits you. Give us a call today, 678-726-5739, or shop us 24/7 online at allenvigilford.net.
This is OJ Howard with Real Talk Sports. What's up, guys? This is Tim Tebow. You're listening to Real Talk Sports.
This is Charles Woodson. You grab the mic. You ready? This is Charles Woodson with Real Talk Sports. Hey, it's your boy JB Smooth with Real Talk Sports.
Oh, hey, we're back here. Welcome to the Real Talk Sports Show. Again, I'm your host, Mr. Jonathan Simmons. Right next to me is Brian Jones from popculture.com. And right beneath us, the champion, two-time Super Bowl champion, Mr. Tyrone Poole. Well, gentlemen, we're going to shift to a little college football. Like I mentioned in my email blast, it was kind of a lost weekend for Metro Atlanta sports. And we're going to have a guy talk to us about what's going on down at the Flats. We have my man from GoJackets.com, Rod McKenzie, back in the building. Rod, welcome back, sir.
Hey, thanks for having me. Good to see you all, Tyrone, Brian, Jonathan. Great to be with you again.
Good to have you, sir. Well, let's kick this thing off. What happened to the Jackets, brother? I thought that it was going to be a Thursday night special. They come rolling in with a 2-game winning streak, and then the offense just went.
Yeah, as Jeff Sims goes, so goes the Jackets. And when he left the game, right before the end of the first half, that's when we saw the offense just come to a complete halt. I think they only gained 42 yards on the ground in the second half. Virginia, they knew that Zach Gibson would not be able to run the ball like Sims does. That took away the RPOs that they like to run. And they stacked the box and shut down the run and dared Gibson to pass the ball. And the offensive line and Gibson were both at fault in that there was some sieves in the line, and Gibson held onto the ball too long instead of going for that first receiver. Key mentioned that he tried to go for that home run too often instead of taking what they were giving him.
Yeah, as soon as they squandered an opportunity, because like I said, they had some great energy coming those 2 straight wins, looking like we talked about last week, a team that could be a bowl contender. So it's a tough one. Tyrone, have you been around this game? Seeing a team like that, it looks like it's trying to make a comeback at this big thing going on at home. We know we lost a key player, but how do teams kind of adjust when, you lose a key player like that? What are some of the things that are going through the minds of some of the players?
Again, this is what
I give him a big question.
What I believe is you ask any great player, any great coach, any whatever, when it comes to sports, the game is won during the week of practice, preparation. A lot of people saw the game last night with the Patriots and the Bears, and Belichick would ask the question, and the quarterbacks both were asked the question, did you expect to play? And they were like, yes, basically yes. That wasn't a set-up question. That's how you're supposed to be. The next person is supposed to be ready to play. You're supposed to study like you are the starter. But most guys don't. They sit and they say, oh, well, Jonathan, if Jonathan, you and I play the same position and you're the starter, well, I'm like, okay, well, shoot, I'm going to go hang out. Jonathan, he's going to be ready to start. But see, you can't think like that. So when one person goes there, the next person has to be able to step up. That's why they recruited you, because you have similarities of what is already there. So football is one of those sports where if one piece go down, you have to have backups. That's why it's a lot of players on the football team, because anybody can get injured at any time. And when that person goes down, it's next man up. So the attitudes has to change. The attitude has to be, you know what, I'm going to push you in practice. That's why I say practice. Not like Allen Iverson said, practice.
Practice.
Yeah, practice is where you win championships at. So when one person go down, they put another piece in there, and that thing keeps running. Yeah, they may tweak the offensive play calling, but the machine doesn't slow down. So I think it starts in practice.
There's no social media here.
You're exactly right, Tyrone. And Coach Key, really, that was the subject that he was talking about today. He said, you have to be able to learn how to carry over what you do in practice to the game, and you have to show discipline in practice to be ready to carry that over to the game. And it didn't look like, frankly, it just didn't look like Gibson was ready to play.
Yeah, that kind of was the question that Todd had for you. He said, "Yeah, why not the third stringer?" He said, "I heard that he's actually a little bit better passer. I'm not as familiar with the third string guy." And he said basically Gibson didn't look ready. And of course, he likes to dig in. He said, "Yeah," he said, "it looks like Coach Keys did not have them ready to play last Thursday, and once again he's trying to get a guy fired." But in any case, was that really the case? I mean, again, we talk so much about this offense being revolving around Jeff Sims and now getting back to him using his athletic ability. Is it just that big of a transition going from him to the backup quarterback?
Well, the second half of the Pitt game, the offensive line really stepped up. The entire Duke game, they stepped up, and that's because they had Jeff Sims as their quarterback. When they played a decent first half against Virginia, the second half, when Gibson was in there, it was like they decided they needed to play a different brand of ball on the offensive line. In other words, they tried to be too perfect about everything, and instead of, counting on everyone around them to step up and help out. And they just I think Key basically said they played a bad second half, and he's looking for that to change this week. And you can't let one player change the way you play the game when you're out there on the field, and that's exactly what happened in that second half. I mean, you look at the defense. Defense played a great game. They were put in bad positions quite a bit. As far as field positions was concerned, blocked a field goal. Kept them out of the end zone, and they gave the offense a chance to win the game, and all they had to do was move the ball a little bit, and they could have been won the game. And when you have your quarterback on the final play, instead of throwing the Hail Mary, he runs out of bounds. That's just sort of highlighted the whole evening.
No doubt. Brian, any questions or comments for Mr. Rob McKenzie?
Yeah, Ron, I noticed that Georgia Tech is going to be playing Florida State at Doak Campbell Stadium. Florida State's a team that's lost their last 3 games, but it's going to be a challenge for Georgia Tech to go into Florida State and get a win. So what's the biggest thing that Georgia Tech has to do in order to beat Florida State?
Well, I think they go into the game confident because Georgia Tech has sort of had Florida State's number the last couple of times. And matter of fact, the last time they played them was down there, and Jeff Sims was a freshman. They gave him the start. He did just enough, to win the game. And I think they're going down there with the attitude, hey, we can go down there and maybe do the same thing all over again. Now, Coach Key was pretty coy about, who's going to be playing quarterback. He said Sims is day-to-day. He said you'll see both Zachs, being Zach Gibson and Zach Pyron, and I think what they're trying to do is put guys in the game in different types of situations to play to their strengths. Now, he had a little funny grin on his face when he basically told Florida State, you're going to have to prepare for more than one quarterback. So I think if the defense plays like they've been playing and they can stop the run, they have a chance. But, and again, Keith said, if we're going to win that game, we're going to have to score some points.
Mm-hmm.
I got a question for Rod. I got an offensive and a defensive question for Rod. When I look at Georgia Tech, in this age of football, it's almost pass happy, whether it's college or pros. When I look at Georgia Tech's offense, they're averaging 16 points pretty much a game. And then you look at the leading scoring team in the NCAA, which is Tennessee. They're averaging like 50 something points a game, right at 50 points a game. What does Georgia Tech have to do to increase their point production per game to go from 16 to at least getting in the 30s or probably the 40s? What do they need to do? Is it a scheme change, or is it players need to step up, or what actually is it that's keeping them from scoring so many points?
Yeah, to me, the last 4 years, there's only been one guy on the offensive line that has started. Each year, he's out there starting, and he has four other guys lining up beside him. So there has been zero continuity on the offensive line. And so when you go out there each year and have to start from scratch again, boy, that sure makes it hard to take advantage of the skill players you have on your team. And uh, this will be the first year where they will not lose anybody from the offensive line. And boy, you have to ask yourself, why is it taking so long to get to this point? But that's to me, that's basically why they're at where they're at right now.
Now, you mentioned my last question, Rod, and thank you for answering that question. My last question, you spoke about stopping the run, stopping the run. Okay, I'm going to the defensive side now. Georgia Tech, third down. I think third down is very important, whether it's college, high school, definitely the pros, but third down. Third down, looking at the numbers, Georgia Tech their defense is getting off the field like 30% of the time. Okay. And when you look at the national lead, the NCAA, which Minnesota Golden Gophers, they're getting out the field 58% of the time. Again, the same question, but just a defensive answer. What does the Georgia Tech defense need to do to get off or get more 3 and outs on defense so they can at least get the ball back to the offense so they can have an opportunity to try to score?
Yeah, there's. I think that number has probably gone up since Brent Key took over, and the reason I say that, Coach Collins had that above the line where he was shuffling guys in and out all game long instead of, you know, why do you need to keep shuffling guys in and out in the secondary? Why do you have to keep shuffling your linebackers in and out when you have two of the best in the league? So under the new regime, they're keeping those guys on the field. The only rotation that they really use is on the defensive line because those guys naturally tire a little faster. And you know, Andrew Thacker, the way it's turning out now, since he has taken over the defense by himself, the team has really improved and stepped up. And everyone was blaming him the last couple of years, but it's sort of evident that he really didn't have full control of running that defense. But now that he does, starting with the Pitt game, Duke, and even against Virginia, the team is really playing a lot better, and they're getting off the field on third down a lot more.
Let's go to social media here. Our man Todd is saying, he says, Rod, Coach Lane Kiffin had no kicker. Put a call out to anybody on campus that has kicked, found a guy in a frat house. Why not Tech doing that type of thing to find a quarterback, I swear. And yeah, actually, guys, if you want to see that clip, I actually have that clip both on our Instagram page and on TikTok. It's one of the funniest things I've ever seen. He basically said, yeah, they found this guy who's a punter. And they were like, hey, man, you got to get him in a little bit of a shape. And they ran him out there, and so far so good there for Ole Miss. But yeah, what are some of the things? Now we know that obviously a big key component. You can't go back in time, but you have a guy that I really think could have really made a huge impact on this team with a new coaching staff. And of course, Rod, I'm talking about Jahmyr Gibbs, who's over now with the Crimson Tide. What can Georgia Tech do now going forward as we wrap up here to get these types of recruits back in the Yellow Jacket fold? I'll let you wrap up with that.
Yeah, I think the first thing they need to do is name a coach because, a lot of these recruits that they've got commits from and a lot of the guys that they're recruiting, they're just hanging out there waiting to see who is going to be the next coach. And you say, well, the NCAA says, well, you're supposed to commit to the school but not the coach. But we all know that that's a bunch of bull. And I think once they find out who the coach is, it's going to make it a lot easier to maybe ramp up what they do with recruiting because when a kid comes into a school, he's looking for stability. in the coaching staff. He commits to a certain coach. They have a relationship, and he wants to stay with that coach. So Georgia Tech has to prove that they can keep a coaching staff in place for more than 1 or 2 years.
It is, all right. You know how we do it, Rod. Anytime we have a guest come on our show, we want people to find out more about you, website and social media. So, Mr. Rob McKenzie, the floor is yours.
You can catch up with us at gojackets.com. We're part of the #1 recruiting network, 247 Sports. And you can catch me at Georgia Panther on social media. And, if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them for you. And we keep you updated on everything Georgia Tech on our site.
There you go, Rod McKenzie. Check him out again, guys. See it on the ticker, gojackets.com. Rod, thanks for joining us. Look forward to having you back on with us real soon.
Good to be with you all.
And tell them to go get some of them players from LaGrange, Georgia.
Hey, Trace Hombres, LaGrange. Way to go.
All right, everybody. We'll be back with more of the Real Talk Sports Show in just a moment. Please don't go anywhere. Well, if you do, just come right back, okay?
Did you know that Allen Vigil Ford in Morrow, Georgia also has Lincoln? Over 35 years of using the Vigil Touch to provide excellent customer service, works hand in hand with the Lincoln Motor Company to provide a luxurious and seamless way to acquire your next luxury vehicle. Lincoln has an array of full-service complimentary owner benefits. These benefits include hospitality partnerships, service pickup and delivery, all which can be accessed through the Lincoln Way app. You can even contact the 24/7 concierge to have someone assist you. Come and see our great inventory of new and pre-owned Lincolns today. Call 678-364-7345 to make an appointment with one of our brand champions or shop 24/7 online at allenvigillincoln.net.
All right, everybody, we are back here on the Real Talk Sports Show. I'm your host, Minister Jonathan Simmons. Next to me, Mr. Brian Jones from popculture.com. And right beneath us, two-time Super Bowl champion and Fort Valley State Sports Hall of Famer, the one and only Tyrone Poole. Let's go to social media. Here's our man Todd getting a little excited. He said, yeah, you missed it, Todd. You asking Brian what happened to our Braves. Yeah, that was in our first segment. We went over that, brother. Braves just, they got beat by a team that was red hot. Red hot.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, that, as I mentioned, like what the Phillies did to the Braves, what the Braves did to everyone last year. So that's just baseball. The team that has the most momentum going into the postseason has a really good chance of making the World Series and winning the World Series. So, and for the Braves in that series against the Phillies, they just couldn't come up with those big hits. They left so many runners on base in Game 1. That's why they lost that game. And then in Game 3 and Game 4, they just didn't have it when it comes to offense and pitching. Max Fried was coming, or Spencer Strider, I should say. He hadn't pitched in a month, and then Charlie Morton's just been up and down all year. And then I think some of the players look kind of exhausted, even though they got that week off. They were still, I think, what the Braves had to do in order to win the division, catch up with the Mets, and finally get past the Mets. I think that may have taken a toll, even though I don't think that made that much of an impact. But it also is just difficult to repeat. The last nationally team to repeat when it comes to World Series champions is the Reds in the 70s. And then when it comes to overall, the last team to repeat was the Yankees in 99 and 2000. So it just doesn't happen that much in baseball when it comes to going back to back. You could be more talented than what you were when you won the World Series last year. That doesn't guarantee you anything because all of these teams are looking at you and coming after you to win that title. So, and that's exactly what happened to the Braves in the playoffs. So I just want this team to be competitive in the next 5 to 10 years, be in the World Series hunt in the next decade, like they were in the 90s. And I think you have that ability because your core is so young. When you talk about Ronald Acuna, Ozzie Albies, Michael Harris II, Max Fried, Mike Soroka, if he's back 100% healthy, they have a bunch of talent, and I think they'll be in the hunt for the World Series next year, the year after that, and the year after that, and that's what the Braves want. So it's unfortunate that the Braves didn't win the World Series this year, but I think they'll be back in the mix for years to come.
Yeah, speaking of core, of course, the burning question is Dansby Swanson, a hometown hero, played right in Cobb County. What's the rumbling? Will he be re-signed or no?
I think the Braves want to resign him, and I think they have an offer in place. They don't want the situation. They don't want it to be what it was with Freddie Freeman last year, and I don't think that will be. And there are some options when it comes to shortstop free agency. Trey Turner being number one, Carlos Correa being another guy. But I think what Dansby Swanson did for this team, really the last 2 years, I think the Braves want to keep him. He's a hometown guy. Played. Uh, attended high school at Marietta. So I think he wants to be a Brave. He wants to be a Brave for as long as possible. And I think Braves fans want him to be here as long as possible because he's the guy that can do it all. He hit 25 home runs, drove in about 90 runs. Uh, he's has a chance to win a gold glove each and every year. So I think the Braves will do everything they can to resign him. I know they're going to have more money when it comes to spend, when it comes to free agency, because the attendance, what the Braves brought in this year, over 3 million fans. So, yeah, they're going to be a top five salary team, and that's going to really benefit them when it comes to signing free agents and bringing in guys they want to bring in. So I do think Dansby Swanson will be a Brave next year and for years to come.
Yeah, Todd's out there nervous because he's saying, "Hey, he got the same agent as Freddie Freeman." So I don't know, but anyway, yeah, I think that the Braves will look to resign him. And you're right. One of the things that the Braves did, which was incredible, is they signed the two young stars to they basically are being underpaid. If you look at the contract that Albee and Acuna Jr. signed, in contrast to people like uh, Bryce Harper from the Phillies and some of the other young stars like Machado out in San Diego. I mean, basically they signed for a 10-year deal where the deal averages out, if I'm not mistaken, Brian, just under 15 million a year, and these other guys are getting $30 million. And Acuna, we know, is a potential MVP candidate when he's healthy.
Yeah, I think what Alex Antopoulos has done, and not with just with those two contracts, when you talk about with Matt Olson, I think even though that's a bigger contract, but it is team
Same
friendly.
thing.
Same thing with Austin Riley; it's about 20 million per year. So it's been amazing what he's done to keep these guys with the team and keep them for a while. And I think they understand that they can make a lot of money elsewhere. They really can, but they have something special here. I think Ozzy and Ronald Acuna want to play together. I think Austin Riley really loves being in Atlanta. And I think it goes for a lot of these guys who come with the Braves because of the philosophy that they have. And it's something that the Braves have built over the last 30 years. And that's why they've been able to bring in some top notch guys and been able to produce. So even though it is, they are getting underpaid, if they can be in the hunt for the World Series and win multiple World Series, it will be all worth it.
And
Yeah,
let me tell you this right here. I know y'all talk about winning back to back. Okay, all right. See them two things right there. I think I have a little something to say about winning back to back. I'm gonna tell you how you win back to back. Okay, it's very simple. And just like Brian alluded to, you ain't gonna win it with talent. When I mean like talent, like you just gonna load up your team and say we're gonna go get this guy, that guy, and we're gonna win. Okay, the Rams tried that. And they kind of got around to it, finally. But what helped them get there was hunger. Every man has to stay after you win the first championship, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You got to stay hungry. You got to stay hungry. And then on top of that, you got to have chemistry. You got to have chemistry. If you bring in a new person, that person has to fit in with the chemistry. And then each person individually have to take it upon themselves to say, how can I get better? Okay. So at the end of the day, systems win championships, not skills. Even though skills is in the system, more of the system wins championship than just taking individuality and saying we're going to win it with skills. You got to have a system in place. So the more these guys understand that, you got to stay hungry. You got to have great chemistry, and each person has to take it upon themselves to say, what can I do to get better than I was last year? That's how you win back to back. The talent is there. You just got to up here.
and Todd always got to throw a little something, something. He said, yeah, and of course it helps to have the GOAT, Tom Brady
Yeah,
as well.
and let me say, I'm glad he brought that up. Now you go back and look at Tom in 2000, because I got there his second full season of starting. So Tom wasn't Tom Brady then, Todd. Okay, so the defense carried Tom. Okay, and then Tom got better as he started to learn what he was supposed to do. But in 2003, 2004, it was the defense that carried that team.
And it's funny you mentioned that, Tyrone, because there's something when you said that, this hit a trigger in my mind. If you go back and check the three best offensive years that Tom Brady had, the Patriots actually lost Super Bowl. 2007, huge year, they lost. 2011, huge year, they lost. And then he threw for a record, almost 600 yards against the Eagles, and they lost that too. So clearly, I get you, Todd, but it's a they're not a one man team. You still got to have a team of, in the case of football, 53 guys that all come together. And then last but not least, you need to have a Hall of Fame coach or a guy that understands at the very least how to maximize what he can get out of his players and out of his particular scheme. And Bill Belichick, long after we're gone, if they're still talking about football, he has certainly supplanted guys like Vince Lombardi and others as being considered probably the greatest football coach of all time, at least up to this point.
And last night, talking about real funny, last night's game, I know they said if Bill Belichick had beaten the Bears, he would have surpassed George Halas. I think George Halas' spirit came about the grave last night. It came like they helped the Bears.
And no doubt, brother, because the Bears played very, very well. It's funny as we shift in NFL, man. I mean, it seems like the teams that are playing well and they're getting the maximum out of their teams are reverting back to something. I shouldn't say reverting back. Let me not say it that way. I'm seeing more from the better teams, what I've talked about on the program for a while. I'm not looking for anybody to be a Michael Vick. But in this day and age, when you got linebackers and even defensive linemen running, 4.6 40s, 4.5 40s, 4.4 40s, you got a quarterback need to move around. That guy has to be able to have some escapability. And how about the two teams that are running up near the top of the NFL, the New York Football Giants and the New York Jets? Can these teams really be the best two teams in the NFL? What do you think, Tyrone?
I'm like, as far as the records, they look pretty doggone good. Now, if I had to choose between the two teams, the Giants or the Jets, I think I'd probably have to go with the Giants because I'm looking at the schedule, like the past games that they played. And like you said, Jonathan, you alluded to it a little bit. Teams this year, it's like, everybody's struggling in some type of area. There's not that dominance no more. Even Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers is beginning to see what it's like not to have some receivers to throw the ball to. Okay, the Packers fans are beginning to see what it's like. But when I look at the Jets and the one team that they did play, that was a real quality team, it's still a pretty good team. The Cincinnati Bengals. The Cincinnati Bengals beat them pretty handily. But when I look at the Giants, the Giants, of course, the Cowboys, they are the Cowboys. But the Giants, they played the Ravens, and I think the Jets might play the Ravens as well. But the Giants, I think they probably have a little bit more. If I had to pick between those two teams, which team is a real legit team, I would probably give the nod to the New York Football Giants.
Brian, what do you think? Jets and Giants, two of the best teams in the league right now?
I think they do a lot of things similar. I think they're just both tough-minded teams that have like a chip on their shoulder. I do like the Giants a little bit more because of Saquon Barkley. I think if he continues this upward trend that he's going on, he's going to win Comeback Player of the Year. For the Jets, they lost their rookie running back Breece Hall for the rest of the year, so they had to make a trade for the Jaguars running back. I think it's James Robinson. So it's going to be interesting to see how these teams able to manage their way through the rest of the season. Obviously, both of these teams are better than what they were last year. And I think the way that the NFL is now, they have a chance to possibly, I wouldn't say win the division, but possibly make the playoffs as a wild card. But if they continue to win, they probably could win the division. Who knows? I just think this season for the NFL has been interesting. And even with those two teams, you still have another team from New York, the Buffalo Bills, who are 5-1, and their only loss is to Miami Dolphins. They lost that. That was just a weird game to begin with. But the Bills, obviously, they're a Super Bowl favorite. So we'll have to see what happens with them. But obviously, it's clear that New York is really loving professional football right now.
You already know. Well, listen, we're going to talk a little bit more about the Giants and the Jets, and then we got to talk about our own Falcons. But you won't see that unless you keep it tuned right here on the Real Talk Sports Show. We'll be right back.
The day has arrived. It's time to let more people know about your business. You have the right marketing plan and the messaging in place. But do you have the right messenger? Good advertising and promotions need a professional sound so the message can be clearly understood. Don't leave your brand image to chance. Let our team of voiceover experts at CME lend you a hand. Give us a call at 678-304-8121 to find out how we can partner with you to give your business its voice. Are you in the market for a new vehicle? Well, check out Allen Vigil Ford Lincoln in Morrow, Georgia. We have one of the largest inventories in our area for both new and pre-owned vehicles, so we're sure to have something for everyone. Family owned and operated since 1982, customer satisfaction is our number one priority. Come see our full lineup of vehicles and find the one that best fits you. Give us a call today, 678-726-5739, or shop us 24/7 online at allenvigilford.net.
All right, guys, we're back here. Me, the minister, Brian Jones, and on the far left or right, depending on which way you're watching, the champion, Tyrone Poole. Yeah, guys, if I look at that Giants game and I pull up these stats here against a Jaguar team, surprisingly, who is, all the records not good, their defense is definitely pretty good. They really kind of have the formula. I think that if the Falcons get a hold of it, they could be a winning team. I'm looking at stats here. Daniel Jones, 19 of 30, 202 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. Saquon Barkley, being the Saquon Barkley that the Giants banked on getting him as a top 5 pick a few years ago, he is back. 24 for 110, 4.6 yards per carry. And then Daniel Jones himself, after the notorious fumble, they said, don't worry about it, son. Just keep running. 11 carries for 107 yards. And so that's what the Falcons are going to have to do and get more of that out of Marcus Mariota and their kind of trio of running backs right now. So, yeah, man, the Giants look really, really good. And I think it's because now that Daniel Jones has a Saquon Barkley, those things, the RPOs and the other things now can run very, very effectively. And he's not turning the ball over. That's another thing. He was a turnover machine there for a while, and he's no longer turning it over. So, yeah, I like the Giants. I think they got some great things going on. And the Jets, I got to tell you, every time I watch their quarterback, Zach Wilson, that guy is the real deal. His release, he's got one of the fast release in the NFL. He's got a cannon for an arm. And I think that once he really gets a full hold of that system, they get the players in place, the Jets, too, are going to be a team that's going to be definitely reckoned with. Who knew the two New York teams would make some noise like this in the NFL football season? Let's go to social media really quickly. We can't do that. Looks like somebody put some spam on the site. Okay, we'll leave that alone. Todd's got a little comment about Matt Ryan. He says, last 4 years after all, LOL, that set us back as a Falcons fan. Yeah, Matt Ryan actually is, I don't know about you guys, but I'm surprised. I thought Matt Ryan was going to have a renaissance with the Colts, put him out there, one of the best running backs in the league. The Colts looked like they were just really him as a missing piece away. And he has been so bad that the Colts have benched him. Tyrone, did you think that Matt Ryan would fall so far off the table like this?
Well, it kind of goes back to what you said earlier. And I was going to mention, when you talk about the running game, having a running game, that reminds me of the Baltimore Ravens when they had Jamal Lewis, and all Trent Dilfer had to do was just make sure he didn't overthrow the curl route. So because they were going to run it and then play action off of that. So that's similar to the RPO, right? Back in the day. And then you look at Daniel Jones, and then you got Saquon Barkley. Same thing, run the ball, and quarterback just don't overthrow the curl route. Same thing, like you said, with Matt Ryan going to Indy. Had the leading rusher. All Matt got to do is just play action and don't overthrow the curl route. So I don't know. Maybe Matt is getting homesick. Maybe he's gotten up there in Indianapolis and he's like, hold on, man. it's not Atlanta. The streets are not as busy. There's not a lot of traffic. I'm missing home, so I don't know. But I wasn't expecting Matt to have this type of season. And actually, I think he's been benched.
That's right.
So
Yep.
yeah, so I know that's tough for Matt. And a lot of that stuff can start playing in a veteran's head, But he's been around for a while. His first time being benched, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how he responds from that, being a veteran who has played and started, was that guy that took the snap every play. Now he's holding the clipboard. So let's see how he's going to respond. It's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, so you're saying that after the first game, they said there was some rumblings up in Indianapolis about how bad he was. Brian, same question to you. Did you think that Matt would kind of really seem like almost fall off the table as far as skill sets this quickly?
Yeah, so I had the opportunity when I was doing work for Score Atlanta to follow Matt Ryan's rookie season, and I remember him playing in that first game where in his very first pass attempt he threw a touchdown pass to Michael Jenkins, and I sat there and I thought, this guy has a chance to do something special in his NFL career, and he's been a guy that has been consistent, doesn't miss any games. Falcons fans towards the end of his run here have been critical of him just because he wasn't able to make as many plays as he did in the previous years. So to see him struggle with the Colts, it is surprising. And he's in unfamiliar territory when it comes to being a backup, because from day one, when he was drafted by the Falcons, he was QB1. He didn't play, he wasn't backup to anyone. And he never was benched when he was with the Falcons. So it's going to be interesting to see how he responds. It's going to be interesting to see what he does after the 2022 season, if he'll be back with the Colts or not, or with another team or not, or if he retires. So, this is unfamiliar territory. I didn't think he would struggle this much. Now, granted, Jonathan Taylor has been dealing with injuries. The offensive line hasn't played that well, but Matt Ryan has just been a turnover machine in this first part of the season. And, he's dealing with an injury, so they're going to go with Sam Ehlinger anyway. But they said Sam's going to be the starting quarterback for the rest of the season. So it's really unfortunate, but Matt Ryan's put together a great career, no matter what other Falcons fan had to say about his last few years. He's in the top 10 when it comes to all-time passing yards, all-time passing touchdowns. He's won an MVP, won Offensive Player of the Year, led the Falcons to a Super Bowl, should have won a Super Bowl. So it really has been a great career for Matt Ryan.
And, it's not good when you hear, it's said that this guy who is coming in as a starter now going to be the starter for the rest of the year.
Right.
I'm like, you didn't hear that said when Dak Prescott went down, even though he had a injury. You didn't hear him say, "Oh, Cooper Rush is going to be the quarterback for the rest of the year." So to hear that coming out of Indianapolis, it got to make you think it's something else, there. I'm like, you brought this guy in to help you get over the hump, and now you're saying that he probably won't get back in to be the starter unless the guy who's starting now gets injured. I don't know.
Yeah, these things happen. Sometimes when you get older, things can go sideways kind of quick, and that's what seems like it's happened with Matt Ryan. Certainly, again, as much as I had my criticism, was never about the guy's heart, never about the guy's durability. I just felt that the skill sets that he had just weren't what the Falcons needed based on the type of team they had around him. They never could seem to get that offensive line to be able to really consistently, like I say, he had some years now. He had some years where that team was great. And here's the thing, I tell people all the time, life is real funny. One or two more play calls properly by the Falcons, we're not having this conversation. We're talking about Matt Ryan being a Hall of Famer and potentially a first ballot Hall of Famer, because Tyrone, you know how that works. You win an MVP in the regular season, your team win the Super Bowl. Most likely, Matt Ryan would have been at least considered to be the MVP of that game, especially after that throw he makes to Julio late. Now, all of a sudden, even if the Falcons move him out, it's a whole different narrative. So, I feel bad for the guy. I got a chance, Brian, like yourself, to cover him over the years. Got a chance to interview him right after they had that first salary increase after the 2012 season, where they should have went to the Super Bowl that year and lost to Frisco. and the always engaging guy, always took time out, never was a guy that said, okay, well, oh, you're not with WSB, I'm not going to talk to you. Yeah, so great guy. Just sadly, just the Falcons can get over the hump and take advantage of really what I think that people are going to look at later on down the road. As much as people killed the Mitroff about not being able to get linemen here, the realities are if you look at that team that they put together and had that 7 or 8 year run culminating with the Super Bowl trip, the guy really did draft a lot of really good players. So again, unfortunately, Atlanta could not put it together when they needed to. All right, speaking of Atlanta, what do you guys think about the loss to the Bengals? Tyrone, what do you think they could have done maybe a little bit differently to at least stay in the game a little longer?
Hey,
At least,
stop, Joe Burrow, Joe Cool, and find somebody who can cover number one. But hey, Cincinnati, man, they got a little offense going up there, and the Falcons, still learning themselves on defense. But again, you got Joe Cool, man, and they just had one too many better plays than the Falcons and ended up winning that game 35-17.
Brian, your thoughts about the Falcons, what they could have done maybe to at least make the game a little bit closer. I mean, at one point, here's the thing, at one point they gave you hope. They had that closeout in the first half where they scored 10 points and they got the ball back for the second half. It looked like, hey, well, maybe they're going to make game of it, but kind of went to the left.
Yeah, I think the biggest issue was I knew that Joe Burrow was gonna have a successful day when it comes to passing because when you have Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, and T. Higgins, you're going up against a secondary that was dealing with an injured AJ Terrell who was taken out of the game. You didn't have KCA where he was on injured reserve, and then you also didn't have D. Alford. You're out your top three cornerbacks, so your secondary was dealing with those three receivers. You knew they were going to have fits, which led to Joe Burrow throwing for 481 yards and 3 touchdowns. I think the biggest issue in that game, was the Falcons' inability to throw the ball. They had that 70-yard touchdown pass in the second quarter, but in the third, and Jonathan, as you mentioned, they got the ball back in the third. They just couldn't throw the ball because Marcus Mariota just kept getting sacked in the second half. And it just led to him only throwing for 124 yards and that 1 touchdown. So if they were able to throw the ball downfield a little bit more, they would have made the game a little bit closer. And just unfortunately, they just couldn't do it. And it was just unfortunate to see Drake London only have 1 target. Kyle Pitts, I think he only had like 5 targets in that game. So in order for the Falcons to be successful, they do a good job running the ball. Obviously with Tyler Algier and Caleb Huntley, and once you get Cordero Patterson back, you're going to have a very strong running attack, even with Marcus Mariota. But they're going to have to target Drake London and Kyle Pitts more. Those are guys that were your last 2 first-round picks. You've got to find a way to get those guys the ball more. And I think if you're able to do that and do that successfully, then you can win more games. Fortunately, the Falcons have the easiest remaining schedule in the NFL, so they're going to win some games. They're not going to face opponent passing attacks like they did with Cincinnati, not at least for a while. But they're going to have to throw the ball downfield more in order to be successful.
Yeah, no doubt. And Todd talks about Falcons give up on the run and got a little bit too cute with the short out routes. And he said, Peace like to go soft zone. Well, Todd, I'll tell you one thing. If we saw what happened in the first half when the Falcons tried to play a different defense, Tyrone, it looked like they were playing more man early. And like you said, you already were restraining with your regular defensive backs. And now they say we got some second string guys going against the guy that could be paying out to be one of the best guys of this decade of the 2020s in Jamar Chase. Let me put these numbers up here. Let me read these numbers of how insane this was. They almost had 3 guys have 100 yards in receiving. Tyler Boyd was 8 for 155, 19.4 yards a catch and 1 touchdown. Jamar Chase 8 for 130, 16.2 and 2 touchdowns. And oh, by the way, T. Higgins 5 for 93, 18.6 yards per reception. And Tyrone, if you remember that one play that he caught the slant and then cut back, I mean, it looked like he was toying with him. It was incredible. I mean, so Yeah, I got to disagree with you on that, Todd. I mean, at the end of the day, he's had to do that to keep the game close. Now, I will say this much. I thought they should have run the ball more, and I thought they should have had Marcus Mariota out of the pocket more. I know, Tyrone, you talk about the fact that sometimes when you do that, you cut off half the field. But when you have a guy, to me, that his skill sets are not drop back quarterback, you got to do something, man, to get him where he can be more of impact on the game. Because when you look at it, I mean, this is insanity. The guy was 8 of 13. Let me see if I can pull this up. This, I mean, I saw these numbers. I said, this can't be right. In an NFL game, here it is. Marcus Mariota was 8 of 13 for 124. But the crazy thing is that 75 yards that came on one play.
Mm-hmm.
On one.
Oh
So the
yeah.
rest of the time in an NFL game of the 2020s, not 1940s, you have an NFL quarterback basically go 7 of 12 for about 50 yards.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you like this. I'm gonna say it again, like I said it earlier in the program tonight. Like Alex Rodriguez said, and I believe it. The difference between an average player and a great player is what they believe in themselves. Okay, it's the little things that they do, and they do them very well. Marcus Mariota, I don't think he has any injuries that I am aware of that are very significant, so he can throw the ball. So what is the difference? I think it's a mentality, and then it's doing the little things right. Okay, you take somebody who's we would say is a high end quarterback, whether it's a Aaron Rodgers or a Patrick Mahomes. You just look at how them guys get out there and when they throw the ball, you could just tell the way their mannerism is when they throw the ball that they're throwing it with confidence, man. So I just think Marcus needs to just get that mentality he had back when he was with Oregon. He was in, playing out there. Have fun. Just like you see these quarterbacks who we look at as great quarterbacks now in the NFL. Marcus is no different. He can throw the ball. Okay, he can probably throw it as far as the quarterbacks that probably farther than Aaron Rodgers. But the difference is Aaron Rodgers' mentality is so much more superior than Marcus, I think. So I don't know. Maybe it's all them years that Marcus, had a letdown coming out of Oregon. He was a high pick. Then, they still start playing with your psyche, and you stop believing in yourself, man. And you stop believing that you can thread that ball through a needle. And now you just start doing what the coaches tell you to do because you're fearful that you're going to lose your job. Whereas Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Rodgers throw that thing back across the field. Just how much he believes in himself. But I wouldn't recommend a quarterback do that. But again, Marcus needs to find his mentality, man. He needs to get that mindset that he is a top flight quarterback. And I think you'll see the passing game of the Falcons, change.
Yeah, there's no doubt that it is a confidence factor. And if you remember, guys, in his most of his press conferences, he kept repeating how the game had taken something out of him. If you remember, Marcus took a pounding after those first couple of years, and he started not to have success. And he said how him sitting down helped him. But when I look at him, he does two things that make you think that the confidence is not there. Now, he said, I'll get them both, and then I'll give you his explanation of at least what he said. So one of the things he does is if you watch a great quarterback, they don't really guide the ball. Like you said, Kyron, they cut it loose. I mean, they drop back, flick of the wrist, or whatever the arm motion is there. If you watch, even on that long pass play, it's like Mariota kind of threw it like a dart. He guided the ball. Second thing is he has a tendency to throw the ball in a way where receiver cannot catch the ball on the run. He has a tendency to throw the ball slightly behind the receiver,
Mm-hmm.
which I'm wondering if that's a timing issue. Now, he says that he tries to throw his guys out of trouble. I mean, I guarantee you doing a slant route, you don't want a guy to run and get his head taken off. But to me, like even the play that, if you remember, they had a third down play where Kyle Pitts was basically open on a slant. What he did was he threw the ball back into Pitts where the defender could now make a play. And it was a small defender. Had he thrown the ball out this way with that kind of catch radius, it's going to make it very hard for the defender to make a play. And he does this constantly with both London and with Pitts. And it's like you said, I think it's sheerly a fact that he's so afraid that he's going to overthrow the guy or he's going to throw into an interception. He just doesn't say, hey, man, I'm just going to cut it loose and let my guys make a play. So if he doesn't do that, it's going to be a long, long season for a team that, as we all have admitted, right now is playing an NFL that is parity plus on steroids. Nobody's a dominant team, really, outside maybe the Bills and maybe Kansas City. Nobody dominant.
Hey, I tell you, they say like we would say as players when someone is messing up, we tell that player, hey, you messing with my money, man. You messing with my money. Well, I'm gonna tell you this. I'm gonna tell you this, Jonathan. Marcus messed with your 10-win season, man. You better go get him right. You better go get it right, Jonathan. Marcus Mariota messed with your 10-win season, man.
Mm-hmm.
Go talk to him, Jonathan.
Everything was going good. Everything was going good. We're right near the end of the program, and here come the shade. But you're surely right, brother. I'm gonna be honest with you. You heard me after that Ram game. I was like, look, man, if this guy can't get it together, you're gonna have to. I know nobody wants to put the rookie in under bad circumstances. I get it. But at the end of the day, Ritter, body language, the way he goes about his business, he apparently seems to have more confidence than Mariota. Now, can he play the same at the same level? I don't know. Would he maybe, because to Mariota's credit, there's been a couple of times where he's had to bail the Falcons out of tight situations with his feet, with his quick reflexes. But at the end of the day, man, I mean, this team to me has got way too many weapons to be in a situation where they're barely averaging 20 points a game.
Yeah, and I'm gonna tell you, I don't know if you guys saw this as well. I know you like picking out plays, but no, people can go back and look at that game. But how do you cover Pitts? Okay, there's a play where I was watching the game, and the defensive back didn't try to get physical with Pitts. Now, Pitts not that explosive. He's not that explosive now as far as getting in and out of his breaks. So what you do, you let the big guy run, and then when he go to break, you're a quicker guy. You just undercut him. That's how you cover Pitts, with a safety. You don't tell the safety to get up there and get physical with him, okay? Let him run. You just stay beside him, stay within distance. You're quicker and more explosive than he is. Let him make his break, and then boom, you undercut him. So that's how you cover Pitts.
Which that's my point. My point is by throwing the ball constantly behind him, now you give the back even more ability to break the play up. That's okay. How about the play? And Tyrone, you know about this route running, okay? So why didn't the Falcons call on the play where he was stopped, I guess, at the inch line? Why would you not call that square out in the end zone? You got a guy running about the 1 yard line. Then once again, Mariota throws slightly behind him. The defensive back is able to stone him at the half-yard line. It's just these plays like this, although they didn't create a turnover, it's just a situation where the Falcons are not taking full advantage of the opportunities they have. I'll listen to the guys from 92.9, one of the TV guys, they said there were plays where the Falcons could have made plays with play action fake that meant open, but Mariota, it just doesn't seem to have the confidence to pull that trigger. So I don't know what they're going to do, man. I mean, I appreciate the guy. He's a good Christian brother. Appreciate all the stuff he's went through. And we know he can play the quarterback position. I'm going to go back to his stats. I'm looking here when he first came in the league, and I'm going to sit down and be quiet. I know Brian's got some stuff he wants to talk about here. Let's go ahead and look at Mariota this year, his big years in the NFL, where his first couple of years. I'm looking at this. I pulled up these stats, and I said to myself, this guy can do it. 2016, his second year in the league, he threw for 3,400 yards, 61% passing completion rate, 26 touchdowns, and only 9 interceptions. I believe Tennessee went to the playoffs. Okay. The next year, same thing, 9-6 overall, one game better than the year before, 3,200 yards passing. Now he kind of stepped back a little bit as far as his interception to touchdown ratio, 13-15. But those first 2 years, 19 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, 26 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. So we know this team can win. In his first year, he did that when they were 3-9. So it's not like this guy can't do it. I just think that psychologically, from the beatings, from the getting benched, I just think the guy just is just his confidence is not there.
Let me ask you this. Speaking of Mariota, you mentioned his, when he first came into the league. Do you think that's the same thing that happened to Vince Young? Vince Young, mentally, they kind of like, came in doing pretty good, but then once the NFL caught up with them, because that's what them defensive coaches and players they do. that rookie year. That's why you can't count that rookie year. That's a year that they don't have film, them coming into the league other than college. Now they got a full season of how that team is going to use that guy, and they break it down. That's what them defensive coordinators get paid for. So when you mentioned Marcus, I thought about Vince Young in that manner as well.
Well, no doubt. And ironically, both play for the Titans. Brian, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that's possible. I think with Marcus, the expectations for him were so high coming into the NFL, and while he's been solid, he just hasn't lived up to those expectations. And I think for this year, I don't know how much Arthur Smith trusts Marcus Mariota when it comes to throwing the ball. They're on pace to throw for about close to 300, 75, 380, which would be last in the NFL. And so I think it is a mental thing. I think it is one of those things where, Marcus has to get over that in order for him to be more efficient in the passing game. And I think if he's able to do that, able to, hit on some short passes and get his confidence back, then I think the Falcons have something there. Now, as for Desmond Ridder, I don't think Arthur Smith is going to make that change right away because right now, as bad as the Falcons looked this past Sunday, and now that they're 3-4, they're still tied for first place with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for the NFC South, because the NFC South isn't really that great. You had the Bucks lose to the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers are now 2-5. Saints lost this past last Thursday. So the Falcons still have a chance to win the NFC South, but they obviously have some issues they have to deal with on both sides of the football. And so I think Arthur Smith is going to hold off on playing Desmond Ridder right now. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens in these next 3 games, because you have the Carolina Panthers at home, then you're back at home to face the Chargers, then you face the Panthers again on the road. They got to find a way to go 2-1 during that stretch. Maybe even 3-0, but 2-1 definitely. If they go 0-3 for whatever reason, and Marcus Mariota struggles and turns the ball over multiple times, then you may see Desmond Ridder take over and see what they have, because they're going to have to see what they have in them regardless, because the quarterback position is something they're going to have to answer for next year if they're going to go with Desmond Ridder, keep Mariota, or draft a quarterback. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens in these next 3 weeks.
No doubt. But look, we got to wrap it up. So, Brian, you are going to be able to take the floor. So now, Mr. Brian Jones, the floor is yours.
Well, I'm a sports and entertainment writer for popculture.com. You can find all my work at popculture.com or popculture.com/sports. A few weeks ago, I interviewed Deion Sanders and his wife, Tracy Edmonds. You can find those stories there. I recently did a story on Deion talking about his new Prime video series called Coach Prime, which takes a look at him and the Jackson State football team. So be sure to check that out. I'm also attending a Stranger Things event tomorrow in Atlanta. It's going to be a great experience, and I'm going to write about that. That should be up on popculture.com later on the week. But again, popculture.com/sports, where you can find all my work. You can also find my work on Twitter. That's Brian Jones _93. And you can also follow me on Instagram. That's Brian _L_Jones.
Just watch the ticker board. You see it right there. Brian, listen, man, we appreciate you as always for joining us. Look forward to having you back with us real soon. Take care.
You too. Thank you so much, guys.
All right, Brian.
We'll see ya.
All right, Mr. Tyrone Poole, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I'm going to be very quick. Tyrone Poole, 38, all social media. Hey, workthatthing.com, supplements, and go to Level 38 Training Academy, okay? Level 38 Training Academy.com. Tyrone Poole, 38, all social media, and workthatthing.com. Appreciate you, Jonathan. Hope everybody enjoyed the show. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, Tyrone. All right, guys, you know I'm a real live minister, so I'm going to keep it really brief. If you don't know Lord Jesus Christ, your personal Savior, I'm going to tell you, please, man, please, sir, get to know him today, because nobody loves you like Jesus. He loved you so much, he came on the earth and died for you. So all you have to do is believe in him and confess your sins, and they all will be forgiven. That means two great things will happen to you. Become a citizen of the kingdom of heaven, and you become an adopted child of God with all the rights therein. That means that now you can go to God like a loving parent, asking for anything you need or desire, and he'll grant it unto you according to his will. And number two, when you die, you get to that happy place called heaven and not hell. I don't know about you, but like option number one instead of option number two. Remember, if you need to contact me, hit me up, jsimmons@realtalksports.net, or simply call me on the phone, 678-410-9833. All right, everybody, until the next time. When we see you again, God bless you and have a wonderful rest of your day or evening. So long.